The words that are spoken are mine. Dear Lord, may the message that is heard be thine. Amen. In today's lessons, in our first lesson, in our gospel lesson, we have some amazing and powerful examples of apostles. Two bright shining apostles, Paul and Peter. And today I invite us to focus in on the apostle Paul. Now, as we see his story in the Acts of the Apostles, it's this absolutely amazing conversion where Paul comes from this great, horrible, scary enemy of God and turns around completely to this amazing lover and follower of God. But when you hear Paul tell the story, it's a little bit different. Because the truth is, Paul, originally Saul, was a good Jewish man. Paul knew God as a Jew. He followed God closely. He followed all the precepts of Judaism. He studied Torah. He knew God so well. He prayed and did all he could to come close to God. And what he saw as he looked around him is that the world was changing. His faith was changing, and that was scary. And he wasn't so sure that that was a good thing. And so yes, he was persecuting Christians, followers of the way, but he wasn't trying to do that as a bad person. He thought he was following God. It took an encounter with Jesus for him to learn this wasn't it. He needed to open himself up and get to know God even more fully. So our story from the Acts of the Apostles makes it seem almost more dramatic than it was, that he was this really bad person turned good. And the truth is, Paul was a really good person turned even better. And I bring that up because I think Paul is actually an apostle that we can really get behind and understand and really can model our own lives. Because Peter and Thomas and the other apostles that we hear about who had breakfast with Jesus on the beach, they knew Jesus when he was alive. When he was walking around on this earth, they followed him then. They knew Jesus when he died. They knew Jesus when he was resurrected and came and sat and had breakfast with them. They knew Jesus when he went back to heaven. They had this experience of Jesus that you and I never will. But Paul didn't get to know Jesus until all of that. Paul got to know Jesus after his life, death, resurrection, and ascension into heaven. That is when Paul got to meet Jesus. When Jesus was no longer walking around on this earth. And that's when you and I get to meet Jesus, isn't it? Jesus isn't walking around on this earth, but we're learning the stories of Jesus. We're experiencing Jesus' love in our lives, the way he reaches out to us and he loves us and cares for us. That's how we get to know Jesus. Just like Paul did. And so his conversion was from being a good person to an even better person. When he came to experience God's love in a new, more full way, he went out to the world and wanted to tell more people about it. And that's the invitation to each one of us. As we get to know God's love in new and more full ways, each and every day, we are invited to go out and tell the world more about Jesus and Jesus' love. And I know, going out and telling the world about Jesus, it can sound a little scary if I say it like that. Because the first thing that might come to your mind is that I might be inviting you to go out and stand on the street corner and start shouting at people, hey, let me tell you about Jesus. And the thing is, I think if you were to do that, you would turn people off. And so I suggest you don't do that, because I don't want you to turn people off from Jesus. But share about Jesus the way you come to know Jesus, the way that makes sense to you, the way you've known Jesus' love, whether it's an invitation for someone to read the Bible, or an invitation for someone to come to church, or an invitation for someone to come with you when you're engaged in one of our ministries. You know, we started working with Project New Hope. Sandy and Mary have really spearheaded that ministry. It's a new way to experience and share God's love. With our Route 9 Coalition, we're working with Marie's Mission and duffel bags for foster children. And with that, we're creating a new community with our 2 other member parishes. And we're finding new ways to experience God's love. We come here as a community, we worship together, we have time at coffee hour, and as we talk with one another, we know God's love in new ways. Invite one another. Invite your friends, invite your family members to experience that. That's a way to share God's love in this world and be like the Apostle Paul, who did not meet Jesus when he was physically on this earth and walking around, just like you and I. But he did meet Jesus intimately and so strongly that he converted from a good person to an even better person. And we can do the same. And we can share that love with others.